Prioritization is about a continuous evaluation of what you're doing and continuous vision of where you're going, right? What is the ultimate goal? Today on the show, I want to talk to you about priorities and prioritization. And while we talk a lot about prioritizing self-care, prioritizing ourselves, prioritizing what we're going to do, making our to-do lists, what we often don't connect our prioritization to is the message that it sends. The message that it sends to you through your prioritization process, and the message that it sends to people who are counting on you, watching you, relying on you to get their work done, right, as leaders. So when we talk about prioritization, the key point that I want you to think about in prioritizing and deciding what you're going to prioritize is first starting with what I always talk about. Who are you? Who are you? You cannot serve from an empty cup, right? All the things. You can't give to people what you don't have. You can't serve from an empty cup. You can't go on low batteries, right? All the things. So you have to be able to put yourself on the list first. You have to, right? It is not selfish to do self-care. In fact, in order to be selfless, you have to be a little selfish. My friend Holly Dowling talks about that all the time. So from a priority perspective, what that means is when you think about how you're going to prioritize your work, your life, your relationships, all those kind of things, it has to start with who you are and what is really important to you. What is the vision you have of your life, of your business, of your team, of your organization, whatever it is, right? And then what action do you need to take to make that happen? So I told you guys as I started the show that I got a chance to spend some time with my mom last week. She was having the cataract thing done. And I had someone ask me, well, why did you go? Your brother's there. Why'd you go? Which is a valid question, right? And that's because my brother does live there. And when I answered, I thought, well, I wanted to be there. And then, all the other things, it just made sense for me to go. And what I realized was, while I had never articulated it, while I had never been very specific about it, or at least very rarely, one of the underlying fundamental reasons why I left corporate, so this is my story, right? Why I left corporate and decided to start my own business was prioritizing freedom. Time freedom, money freedom, emotional freedom, mental freedom, right? Movement freedom, all the freedoms. So a priority for me in leaving was me. I finally decided that I was the most important thing to me. Now, that manifests in different ways for different people. But for you, what is your number one priority? And if your number one priority isn't you, why is it not you? I want you to ask yourself that question. So that's the first piece of your homework. If you are not your number one priority, why? And we have all the stories around that about being selfish, about being self-centered, about being arrogant, all the things, right? But again, the reality is if you are not first and you're not taking care of you, you can't take care of anybody else. Them's just the facts. So first piece of homework, ask yourself the question, am I number one on my list? And if I'm not, why? Now, as I thought through that a little bit deeper around being able to go and spend this time with my mom and taking the girls' trip and all these kind of things, that priority around freedom also translates into a challenge to prioritization when it comes to business. And here's what I mean by that and what I really want you to think about. Sometimes the pain we leave causes action in order to prevent that pain from ever happening again. And what we don't realize is that action is tied to pain, which is tied to an experience, which is tied to a narrative, which may or may not be true. So the experience and the facts are true, but the story we tell ourselves around those facts may not be true. And because we haven't made that discernment, we haven't made that differentiation, right? Sometimes our prioritization around other things that are somehow adjacent or connected, either consciously or subconsciously, to previous pain, that priority gets kind of messed up. So in looking at your business and looking at your department and looking at, your organization that you're running or that you're a part of, when you look at the things that you are prioritizing for that, what are they? Why are they? And the things that seem to not be prioritized, or that you seem to not be able to get done or not be able to complete, the procrastination gene that pops up, why is that? Why is that? Right? Why is that ability to prioritize so much more difficult in that particular piece of your business or your career? What is it that makes prioritization there so difficult? And if it's not difficult, great. Go back and look at your list. Is the prioritization of the things on your list really getting you where you want to be? I sent a note to a good friend of mine. She's got a goal, right, for 2024. And I was like, I just sent her a note and said, hey, just checking on you. How was your week? Was at least 80% of the stuff you did on your road to 365? That's her mantra, right? The road to 365. Was everything on your road to 365? Just checking in, right? When you're looking at prioritization, the prioritization of your resources, time, energy, money, right? All three of those, time, energy, money. Time is not renewable. Energy and money are renewable, but you got to decide to spend the time to renew them, right? With time being not renewable. When you look at how you're prioritizing the use of those resources, is that prioritization really linked to the overall vision that you have for yourself, for your career, for your business? And sometimes your business is your career, guys. That's why I use it interchangeably. What does prioritization look like, and how is it manifesting in where you're actually spending your resources? I have said a few times that I have this note, this index card taped to the side of my computer screen. I have several. One is my mantra that I want to be the woman God has intended me to be, and I'm willing to be uncomfortable to be her, right? That's one. I see it every day, multiple times a day. It's taped right there to my computer. The other one is, in this moment, you are enough. In this moment, you have everything that you need. That's number 2, right? All day long. But the last one is the one that gets my attention and hurts my feelings. Because the last one says, don't be mad about the results you didn't get from the work you didn't do. And I always go back and evaluate my day against that third mantra. Don't be mad at the results you didn't get from the work you didn't do. Did I, in this day, prioritize the things that are going to move me along the path that I have, that are going to move me along the path to the vision that I have, the vision that gives me the impact that I want to make? Is my list of priorities aligned with who I am, where I am, and what I say I want? Right? Those actions that I prioritize, are they going in the right direction or not? Prioritization is about a continuous evaluation of what you're doing and continuous vision of where you're going, right? What is the ultimate goal? Because if you can keep your eye on the ultimate goal, then you can understand if you're just taking a detour, if you've completely derailed yourself. And those priorities that you set will take you down one of those paths, right? It's either prioritizing, you're in a straight line, you're taking a little bit of a detour, or as my friend Janice Sutherland says, you're swerving a little bit, or you're completely off the path. Prioritization is about ensuring that the things that you put first on the list are actually aligned with the vision that you have. that take the best advantage of how you work and how your energy works best? Do you prioritize the things that take you the longest first? Or are you one of those people that prioritizes the really short, quick things first? Because your brain works better when you can check a bunch of things off the list. You do the quick and dirty first because they're done. And then you've got time and energy and flow to do the things that are going to take you longer. Or are you the opposite? Or are you one that's flexible enough that it just depends on what your energy is that day? Or are your priorities somehow tied to something else that's going on? Concern about not being good enough. Concern about everybody seeing what you're doing and other people telling you you can't possibly be as expert as you say you are. About fear, about disappointment, about what I said a couple of weeks ago, which is there's a whole different level of expectation around excellence for someone who shows up in skin like me, right? And who was reared like I was reared. Excellence it's pretty darn close to perfection. It is not perfection, but there's this excellence drive that is serious. So are you in your prioritization process being led by something that's not real, or by something that's actually detrimental to your ultimate goal and the ultimate impact you want to make? Because we all have levels of genius. We all have an ability to make an impact, to touch a life or many, to make a difference by showing up, because someone's always watching, right? What are you prioritizing? So that second question, so your first question was, why are you not at the top of your list? The second homework question is, what are you prioritizing and why are you prioritizing it? Is it really on the path to where you're trying to go, or is there something else that's making you prioritize what you're prioritizing? That's a critical question for you to ask. And those are only 2 questions for your homework for this week, right? Why am I not at the top of my list? And why am I prioritizing the things that I'm prioritizing, right? And as I said a minute ago, someone's always watching. And does that mean you have to prioritize what other people think? That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there are lots of people who you will never know are paying attention to what you're doing and how you're doing it and where you're doing it and what your response is, right? What your attitude is. There are a ton of people who are really watching that all the time. And when you are showing up, and when you are paying attention, and when you are being 100% who you are and making decisions that align with who you are, where you are, what you want, and what it's going to take to get there, your story is informing someone else and giving someone else permission to do the same thing for themselves. So this week, when you are moving through your week, prioritization is the theme I want you to think about. We are here at the end of the quarter. We're at the end of the quarter. And we're at the end of the year, right? We're in the last quarter of the year. We're almost to the end of October. We're essentially at the end of October. Prioritization to get you ready for 2024. Heck, to get you ready for the rest of the year, right? Because we still got 2 months to go. The year's not over. You still have time. And what you choose to spend your energy on, your time on, your resources on, is what is going to set you up for not only the rest of the year, but for 2024. What do you need to prioritize to get to the goal that you have? What mindset things do you want to work on? What physical health things do you need to work on? What foundational things do you need to reset, right? As I've said, mine are faith, family, friends, and health. Physical, mental, emotional, financial health, right? Those are my 4. Faith, family, friends, and health. So I know this last part of the year, I am going to be really focused on those things. Definitely focused on family. That's why we went ahead and did the mother-daughter trip. It was just something we weren't going to put off not one more day. And we had the best time. So highly recommend. Girlfriend's trip, guy's trip, whatever. Do the trip, right? Health, really getting back on my health game because I have been so off my game. Prioritizing health because I cannot show up for all of you if I'm not showing up for me. That's why the first question in your homework was, why are you not on the top of your list? I am putting me back on the top of my list, getting my health game back on, right? Paying attention to what I'm eating, getting all my water in, going to see my endocrinologist, right? All the things. Reconnecting with friends, making sure I'm reaching out, seeing what they're doing. How are they doing, right? They're important to me. I want to make sure I'm doing that on a regular basis. In fact, I have a list today of people I need to reach out to after all of my calls, my client calls, just to check in, make sure people are good. Sometimes it's just a text, but at least it's, hey, I'm thinking about you. And then all of the health things too, right? And of course, the faith journey is constant, right? And that is a constant journey, a constant battle, a constant fight with discipline and mental and all the things for me. Making sure I start my day with the meditation, making sure when I do that, I am so much better the rest of the day. And when I don't, my day's a mess. And it's not about some big, old, huge, got to meditate for 2 hours for me. That's not what it is. It is having, even if it's 3 to 5 minutes of a simple reminder of who I am and whose I am, right? Prioritizing me. So why are you not on your list this week? Why are you not on your list? And what is the priority of the things on your list? And why are those in the priority order that you have them in? That's your homework. You have been listening to the Rutledge Perspective podcast. Thank you so much for downloading and for connecting. You can find previous episodes of the podcast on my website at laurelrutledge.com/podcast. You can also find me on social media at Laurel K. Rutledge and/or The Rutledge Perspective. And I'd love your perspective on the things we talk about. And if there's a specific topic you want me to cover, just let me know. And please share this podcast with someone in your village who may need this little piece of perspective today. And if you're so inclined, I would really appreciate a 5-star rating and review on the platform of your choice. Apple Podcasts and Spotify reviews are particularly helpful. Thank you again for listening. Take care.